Hi, this is Kasian, and it's time for a weekly conference call at VectorspaceAI. We'll start with what's happening around the world. Some are referring to the Delta variant of the virus as COVID-21, and this is causing lockdown concerns, continued lockdown concerns, localized lockdown concerns around the world related to economic contraction, both globally and locally. Hospitals are overloading in the United States and abroad related to COVID-21. The U.S. FDA authorizes a third COVID-19 vaccine booster for the immunocompromised. And in the news, inflation is a continued concern. Supply chain issues also persist, and everyone is keeping an eye on how that might impact local economies and global economies, the global economy, global marketplaces. BTC is trading at 45K and ETH is trading at 3100 and the Dow is at 35.4. On the industry side, most are familiar with OpenAI's GPT-3, the cutting-edge language generation model. OpenAI, run by Sam Altman and Elon Musk and a few others, have developed a new model that can translate English into code with its new machine learning software, Codex. New crypto regulation, tax regulation, has come into effect, and we'll talk about the implications in just a bit. The World Economic Forum announced that the future of economics is based on an AI world. And then we have another headline: the explosion of alternative data gives regular investors access to tools previously employed by hedge funds. Traditional money managers are scouring the world for information to gain an edge as indexing takes over. Next, we've got themes and events, and we are keeping an eye on NFTs. We rarely talk about them, but we are keeping an eye on money flowing out of NFTs and DeFi and into utility tokens. We are also watching mRNA vaccines, and in particular, Moderna and the basket that we created, the basket of stocks related to Moderna and their performance. We are also looking at solar. Solar has been in the news this past week, and one headline states crystal arrangement results in 1,000 times more power than ferroelectric solar cells. German researchers developed a lattice experiment of 3 different layers of ferroelectric crystals that created a powerful photovoltaic effect. And secondarily, Caltech reports collecting solar power in space and transmitting the energy wirelessly to Earth through microwaves enables terrestrial power availability unaffected by weather or time of day. Solar power could be continuously available anywhere on Earth. Our concept is based on the modular assembly of ultralight foldable 2D integrated elements. Integration of solar power and RF conversion in one element avoids a power distribution network throughout the structure, further reducing weight and complexity. This concept enables scalability and mitigates local element failure impact on other parts of the system. Most recently, we demonstrate the lightest, by order of magnitude, integrated multifunctional prototype which collects sunlight, converts it to RF electrical power, then wirelessly transmits that power into a steerable beam. That is relevant to us on several different levels. Not only are we interested in a network of thematic baskets related to these, based on not just traditional stocks or equities, but also based on cryptocurrencies. We are also interested in this. Clearly, solar power has everything to do with space. Next, we'll move to what's happening corporate-wide, and we have ongoing HR hires, or I should say HR is working on ongoing hiring here and onboarding. And facilities is working on our new space in Berkeley, and it looks like we've just about locked that down. We did a walkthrough just the other day, and things are looking good. However, the space that we looked at would not allow us to put in a wet lab. And we are going to have to come up with a solution for that. In the meantime, we'll go ahead and collaborate with other wet labs, but we will be looking for a space that will allow us to build out a wet lab. On the legal side, everything is in process, and we'll move to engineering, product QA, and ops. And we have some updates directly from engineering here, which mentions that Magnus is handling the screen recording of the Dataset toolkit, and this screen recording is a video demo that we'll be developing related to what one can do with the Dataset toolkit. It's just a 30-second video. Might be just a little longer, but it will clearly demonstrate what can be done when it comes to our datasets that are prepackaged with the Dataset toolkit, extracting a cluster and then doubling that cluster as a thematic basket, visualizing the relationship network from the dataset, and understanding the gains from that cluster or that basket. And that's for the financial markets. We'll have a different Dataset toolkit, a different version for the biosciences industry. That should be ready next week, according to engineering. And we are also, or engineering is also reporting that they're working on porting the proprietary model to Python 3, and the S&P pipeline encoding issues are solved. And I'm not going to go through a lot of the detail here, but the Azure migration is 100% done, so that's good. And then they are adding company descriptions to Azure from S&P, and data engineering pipelines are scheduled to be updated daily with historical data and data provenance shortly. We also have other engineering updates related to the backtester, and we are almost finished with that, the integration of that. And that's going to connect to how we compare our backtested results and our Sharpe ratios to a third-party backtester that we'll be talking about in just a bit here. Under customers, partners, and collaborators, we are collaborating with a company, partnering with a company. This is a revenue-generating partner by the name of CSSI, and this involves NLP and NLU operations to extract intelligence from scientific papers related to child psychology, related to the entertainment industry, and the purpose is to quickly digest papers, summarize papers, and extract topics from papers, and provide suggestions related to the papers that a researcher might be digesting, and then hand those off to scriptwriters. And this would be any other curator in the movie industry or entertainment industry that wants to determine how well one of their scripts might fit to an audience. We'll have more details on that later. With all of our other partners that we've discussed in the past, everything is in process, and we can say that the ball is in our court right now with Morningstar, S&P, and with FactSet. So we are waiting for engineering resources to free up, and then we'll go ahead and deliver. Next, we'll move to corporate strategy, corporate development, business development, sales, and marketing. And sales and marketing is engaged in a new hire. This is a quant. This is someone who specializes in quantitative analytics and backtesting, because we are going to be employing a third-party backtester. In the past, we've employed a third-party backtester. This was a hedge fund that we worked with in the past that conducted their own backtesting results related to the performance of our baskets, but only based on the universe of S&P 500 stocks. So that was pretty limiting for us. So we'll have another third party validate our backtested results, and that is important. We are also going to be attending the trading show, as mentioned. This is in Chicago. This is in October. And we are initially going to be on a panel with JP Morgan, and we'll, of course, be presenting a few other slides in a few other areas. But We'll be talking about VectorspaceAI and, of course, our core, Space Biosciences, how we started, the difference between data and datasets, NLP versus NLU, and the tip of the spear in AI and ML. We'll be talking about the vector space model, which is the mathematics behind what we do. We'll be talking about the correlation matrix datasets that we produce, that our data engineering, that our network of data engineering pipelines produce. We'll be talking about generating dynamic global themes. We'll be talking about real-time thematic basket generation based on taking in 1,500 papers from the National Library of Medicine every 24 hours, including other real-time data sources. We'll be talking about including proprietary data, and then using that, of course, to generate data sets that result in clusters or thematic baskets or relationship networks that can be extracted, that can then be used to detect hidden relationships between pharmaceutical companies and drug compounds, for example. We'll also be talking about visualizing these relationship networks in different ways and based on extended reality. All for the purpose, of course, of interdisciplinary research between the industries that we service, such as biosciences and the financial markets. What we do in the financial markets will complement what we do in space biosciences and vice versa. So we'll be talking about that to the public, how we got our start, and the advantage of our data sets and how to extract alpha or signal from them. So it'll be a great place for us to showcase and not only tell our story, but show how we're executing on our story. And that's a good segue into IR, PR, and Marcom, because that's exactly what we'll be doing there. And under IR, PR, and Marcom, we are hoping to roll out our new site before we show up in Chicago and present. So we'll have a new site iteration in place. On the exchanges side, everything is in process. We know we have exchanges watching what we are doing, and that is important. Next, we've got questions from the trader base. Question 1. Do we still expect quarterly reports to start Q4 2021? You've mentioned this in the chat earlier this year. Well, we will certainly time the generation of these reports according to our progress with our revenue-generating customers. Question 2, will VXV holders get any preferential treatment in the process for purchasing shares when VectorspaceAI goes public? There is no direct correlation to the amount of VXV one owns and the amount of equity they'll have access to. And that would include any stock pre-IPO. Now, we are working out the details on this. We are working out a way in which we can legally provide equity to VXV token holders. And we'll update the public on that. We are not going to have any details on that until we are domiciled in the United States. And we are looking at about 1 to 2 weeks out on that. Question 3, I have been reading up on NASA's new James Webb Telescope, hopefully launching this year. Is this another opportunity to use Vectorspace tech to help assess new data sets, given the relationships within the scientific community, and focus on space industries? And is this something that has been discussed? Yes, it has. This is, in fact, how we got our start in space biosciences. This goes back to a package called AutoClass that classified stars produced by 2 scientists at JPL. While at Lawrence Berkeley National Lab, this was the very first package that we used as a baseline to determine how well we were clustering genes. We determined how well those genes would be clustered using AutoClass that would be used to cluster stars. Fast forward to today, we do have knowledge domain expertise in working with astronomical data sets. So we are certainly happy to work in that area. It does ancillarily connect what we're doing in space biosciences, so it's complementary. So we are certainly going to be working in that area. Question 4, how can recently passed cryptocurrency bill affect VXV as a company since it's moving to the US? Okay, well, first off, we don't provide any tax guidance or advice. That's up to you, securing your own tax attorney, your own independent tax counsel. U.S. citizens pay tax on gains made with trading vehicles traded on exchanges and transacted through U.S. IP addresses connected to those exchanges, which in turn connect to an individual's wallet address. That's how things are traced, usually, or triangulated. You also have the option, though, as an individual, to exercise the same tax rate as Jeff Bezos, or start a company like Amazon, Apple, Google, Facebook, or Tesla, or Netflix, and operate abroad. That is completely up to you. Again, we don't provide any advice in that area, but when it comes to handling your taxes, it's just like with any other asset. We don't have any opinion in terms of how to pay your taxes on trading vehicles. That is completely up to you. Question 5, when listed on NASDAQ, will it be the VXV token or a Vectorspace stock? We don't know. We'd like to understand how to structure a new kind of trading vehicle or a new instrument that would capture what we want to do. Similar to Alphabet, you've got Goog, G-O-O-G, and you've got Goog L. You've got other tracking stocks, you've got the VIX, you've got other kinds of trading vehicles, other kinds of instruments that represent value in some way, from funds like GBTC to business development companies to a variety of alternative trading vehicles that can be used to represent value. So when it comes to what we want to do in terms of listing, ideally, well, I shouldn't say ideally, what our primary objective always is to capture as much value for the stakeholders as possible. And that's going to mean whatever we structure, whatever we engineer in terms of an instrument, a financial instrument, to float out there, it's going to be beneficial to all stakeholders. Question 6. I understand that each VXV token will be connected to a specific data set, that the owner of the token will be the owner of the data set. How will that happen? Will one have the opportunity to choose a specific area of data sets? For example, choose between biotech or high finance? Where can I find more info on this aspect of VXV? Well, this involves the dataset design process. And the dataset design process, this is something that we accomplish with customers as we initially onboard a customer. The customer describes the data sources that they'd like. The customer describes whether or not they have proprietary data sources they'd like to include, what kind of row types they're interested in. For example, if they'd like the rows to be pharmaceutical companies, and what kind of column types they'd be interested in. For example, 100 drug compounds related to DNA repair. And then in what context they'd like to operate in. For example, breast cancer, radiation, and so forth. So when it comes to understanding how to design a data set, once you're finished designing that data set, as we walk you through that process, then we'll attach a group of tokens to a wallet address which is attached and hashed and connected to that data set. The hash of the token and the hash of the wallet and the hash of the data set are all combined into a single hash. And that's how you have an immutable connection between a wallet, tokens, and a data set. Question 7. I was going back in time to catch up and learn about the company. I noticed Ted for the sales team joined the company in May 2021. Are we going to update the website to reflect the new additions to the team and show updated data? I know the team is busy working on landing big clients, but I think whoever is working on marketing, growth, and UI of the website perhaps can do that whenever possible. Absolutely, and that's why we are rolling out a new design iteration of the site. Question 8. Hey guys, I've been holding VXV for 2 weeks now and obviously have been happy with the performance, just doing a bit more DD. What I don't understand is that the company seems to put a big emphasis on U.S. citizenship for security reasons on their job ads, but their LinkedIn employees are currently distributed among the world, clearly not satisfying that requirement themselves. Is that some recent realignment of strategy? Yes, it is recent, and it's based on targeting space biosciences contracts with the U.S. government, and it is a requirement that we have to include. It is true that we have people hired from that exist in a variety of places all over the world. However, internal employees or contractors that do not pass security clearance checks will not be allowed to work in certain areas. And this follows the industry standard, of course, with hedge funds and sequestering development groups, algorithmic development groups. Question 9, how does potential public offering affect value of VXV? From trading vehicle perspective, shares or tokens? We know one thing. Well, I should say we know two things. It is new territory, number one. And number two, it is territory that we can certainly extract an opportunity from for our stakeholders and shareholders. We are going to put our best foot forward on that and also recognize that it is a brick-by-brick process. Next, we'll move on to strategy. And of course, as usual, we have a consistent focus on quickest path to consequential revenue. And that's going to include a unique strategy that enables us to maintain world-class scientific collaborations with the world's leading academic institutions. We are capable of doing that, and we are going to execute on that. And that's going to open up a unique door for us. A couple of different unique doors, of course, but one in particular related to educational institutions. And being able to provide instructors, from tutors to any educators in data science and data engineering and artificial intelligence and machine learning, the ability to access our data sets and use them in a classroom setting. This is all that we have for this week. We welcome everyone to join us next week. If you have any questions or comments, feel free to contact us online. Thanks.